Hi everyone, it's Gina from Gina K Designs, and I'm so excited to be part of Simon Says STAMPtember. My exclusive STAMPtember set is called Snowflake Cascade. It contains lots of snowflakes in different shapes along with single snowflakes, and it has big, bold holiday sentiments and extra pieces to turn your snowflakes into ornaments. For my first card, I'm going to do a simple emboss resist technique. And this piece of cardstock measures 4 by 5¼ inches. I'm going to use the Embossing Magic Pad to remove any static from the surface of the card. Then I'm going to position the cardstock into the corner of the MISTI. For this card, I'm going to use the Cascading Snowflake image. And I'm going to use some of the grid lines on the MISTI mouse pad to figure out how to position my Cascading Snowflakes image. So I'm just making sure it's a little bit up from the bottom, and I've chosen a line to use as my line to keep it straight, and then I'm using 2 of the grid lines going down, making sure that that image is right in the middle between them. Now I'm going to use some Versamark ink to ink up this stamp. For my embossing powder, I'm going to use white embossing powder, but you can also use clear embossing powder for this technique. You'll get the same result with either one, as long as you're using white cardstock. If you're using an ivory cardstock, you might prefer to use clear so that the actual ivory color will show through underneath. I like to use a microfiber cloth when I am putting pressure on my stamp. It helps my hand glide over the lid of the MISTI a little bit better. Now you can see I flipped the cardstock around, so now the image that I stamped is at the top, and I'm going to stamp a second image at the bottom. And because I used the grid lines to make sure that it was centered, it's going to be centered in both directions. And once again, I'll use my microfiber cloth to make sure I get great pressure on my image. So I'm using some white embossing powder, and I like to keep my embossing powder in a big Glad container. And then I'm using the Wagner heat tool to emboss the image. Now once the image is embossed, I'm going to do some of the emboss resist technique using Gina K Designs ink. I have some Simon Says Stamp blending brushes here, and I'm going to start with the color Sea Glass. Now I'm able to see the shine on this image very well in real life, so I'm going to start right in the center of the image and work my way left and right across that image. And the brush is just going over that embossed line a little bit just to make it stand out. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, just turning my blending brush in a circular motion from right to left, left to right, and just going across the edge of that little border line that is designed in the stamp. My second color is APPLEMINT, and again I'm using a Simon Says Stamp blending brush, and I'm blending that APPLEMINT color up into the sea glass a little bit and then down onto some of those cascading snowflakes. This is giving me a non-traditional holiday color palette, but I think it's really, really pretty for snowflakes, those blues and greens. Now I'm just continuing with the sea glass now, and I'm kind of creating the shape of an ornament. But it's very free form. I don't have any masking paper on there. It's just kind of highlighting the snowflakes and then fading out to almost nothing. So once I have this all complete, I'm going to use a paper towel to rub over the surface of the snowflakes to remove any ink that might be pooled on top of that embossing powder. Now I'm going to trim this down. I'm going to take 1/8 of an inch off every side. So my original size of this cardstock was 4 inches by 5¼ When I'm done, it's going to be 3 3/4 inches by 5. And by taking 1/8 of an inch off of each side, you know you're going to have even borders. and it's going to be easy to keep the image centered. So I've adhered that panel onto a black panel, and now I'm choosing a greeting. So I think I'm going to choose the holiday greeting here, make it more of a generic holiday card. So this will just say Happy Holidays across the center. And once I line that up, I'm going to stamp it with some Gina K Designs black onyx ink. I really like using the black ink for this because it really coordinates with that little black border that I have going around the outside. And I use my microfiber cloth whenever I do greetings to just rub in one direction and then the other direction, and I get really even greetings that way. Now I'm going to mount this onto a white card base, and that is a quick and easy card. At the end I'll show you I decided to add some sequins to it to jazz it up just a little bit. Now here's another one that I did with the Wishing You Joy sentiment, and I just went a little lighter on the ink. So now I'm going to make a slimline card, and I have a piece of Gina K Designs Tranquil Teal cardstock. I've positioned that cardstock at the 5-inch mark on the MISTI, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to decide which direction I want this swirl of snowflakes to go, and then I'm going to place those snowflakes right where I want them and pick that up with the door of the MISTI. And I'm just going to position that cardstock, make sure it's straight. And then I did use embossing magic on this one as well, but I zoomed ahead here to where I'm using the Versamark ink. So I'm inking this up with Versamark, and I'm going to do embossing on this as well, but on this card I'm actually going to use 2 different embossing powders together to create a 2-tone embossed look. So there are the snowflakes, and I'm going to emboss them using the Wagner heat tool. I like to do embossing in stages because I never know how long the Versamark is going to stay wet, so I want to make sure that as I do each part that I can get the embossing powder on there, get it done, get it out of the way, and I'm not going to mess it up by stamping other images. So here you can see I'm using the little bow, the little hanger for the ornament, just to kind of decide how far down I want to put the cascading snowflake image. So I figure it's going to go right about there. I want to make sure that it's centered and straight, and then I'm going to ink that up with Versamark as well. And again, using my microfiber cloth, it really helps me to get even pressure for these larger images. So this is also going to be done in white embossing powder. And then once I'm done embossing this one, I'm going to add another one of these cascading snowflakes underneath. So I've lined it up. I know exactly where I want it. I'm going to add a little more embossing magic because I did touch that cardstock a lot. And then again, I'm using some Versamark. So once I stamp this, I'm going to have the beginnings of a really beautiful snowflake ornament. And you can also do this same layout on an A2 size card. You just won't have that cascade or that swirl of snowflakes at the top. So again, I'm heating that up with the Wagner heat tool. And now I'm going to add a little cap onto the ornament. This is one of the stamps in the set. And this, I'm going to place this on top of one of the snowflakes that I already embossed. And that's okay because I'm going to put Versamark on there, and I'm going to actually use a different color embossing powder for this. I'm going to be using silver, and it's going to cover the white of that snowflake, so you don't have to worry about trying to not stamp that part. So now that I've got that nice and pressed down, I'm going to emboss that using silver embossing powder. And the powders that I'm using are the Gina K Designs Fine Detail powders. So I'm going to use a little bit of silver here, and you can see, although you see the white snowflake now, that's going to disappear underneath the silver. So I'm going to emboss that. And now you can see the white of that snowflake disappeared, and you just have that nice shiny silver topper. Now I'm going to add the bow and string, and I'm going to hang that from the swirling snowflakes at the top. And that's why I started with that and positioned my snowflakes so that I would know that my ornament and my string were going to match up. And this I'm going to do in white, so the white is going to show over that little silver topper. So you can see how that looks. So it's just layering different embossing powders together, and they stand out because they're different colors. So now to play off of the silver, I'm going to use a greeting, and I'm going to emboss that in silver as well. So this time I'm going to do a more traditional card. This is going to be a Merry Christmas card, and I'm going to once again use Versamark ink and use my microfiber cloth to make sure I get good even impression on that image. And this one will be embossed with the Gina K Designs Fine Detail Silver Powder. I really like the way using multiple embossing powders looks on your finished cards, especially for the holidays. To get a little bit of shine in there against that white is just beautiful. So now you can see what this looks like when the light hits it. You've got silver and you've got white. Now I couldn't stop there. I had to mount it onto a white card base, and this is a Slimline card base, so it measures 4 inches by 9 inches. It's actually 8 by 9 folded in half. And I couldn't stop there. I had to add some more sparkle. So I'm using some of the Gina K Designs sterling silver sequins with some Connect glue, and I am placing them randomly over the dots in that swirl at the top and on top of different snowflakes at the bottom, so you can see all that shimmer and shine. And I had to add a little bit of bling to that first card too. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you'll give these cards a try. The STAMPtember exclusive Snowflake Cascade Stamp and Die collection is available now at Simon Says Stamp, but only for a limited time and only while supplies last. So head over to Simon to get yours before they're gone. Thanks for joining me. See you again soon.